Good morning, everybody. This is Michelle with Fun in Key West, and it's a happy Wandering Wednesday. Today, we're going to wander and wonder all over the Florida Keys, and today we're talking all about festivals. Now, if you're joining us live, be sure to pop in and say hi and let me know where you're from. If you're listening to us on our podcast and I missed one of your favorite festivals, you let me know in sending me a DM or whatever. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you very much for watching us on YouTube. Let me know in the comments, what are some of your favorite festivals? Why is it so important to know the festivals? Not only do you want to be able to plan your calendar around them so that you know what you are going to see and can do in Key West on any given month, it also helps you plan your trips so that you know if, hey, there's this big festival going on, hotel prices are probably going to be a little higher, and you're probably going to have a little busier time in the town. So let's dive into what is happening in Key West and around the Florida Keys festival-wise. October is a huge month. When we first started going to Key West, we happened to come in late in October. We missed out on all of Fantasy Fest, but we thought that the town did it all up and was fancy for Halloween. Little did we know that Fantasy Fest, that is a several week long event. Actually, there are events happening right now leading up to the coronation of the King and Queen of the Fantasy Fest. But there's all these events that you can be keeping track of. Little did we know that is the focus of October. So in October in Key West, you have Fantasy Fest. It kicks off with the Goombay Festival, and you also have the zombie bike ride. You have a large parade. And what I would recommend to do is, because the dates shift sometimes, meaning it's always in October, but start and end dates can vary. Go to Fantasy Fest online, check out their schedule, check out what's happening. If you're in town and maybe they're having a fundraising event for the festival, you can always check in on those events. Then you roll right into November. In November, you've got the Powerboat World Championship that occurs in Key West. There's several places that you can see these. You can see these from Mallory Square, and they're just as fun to see from Mallory Square. Or you can pay, and there's some paid events and over on the docks. You can go over there on the outer mall and watch them over there, and some of those events do have an admission price. There is a parade. Of course there's a parade, right? There's always a parade in Key West. But you can see all the powerboats come down to Duval. You also have the Key West Film Festival that occurs in Key West, and it's named one of the top 25 film festivals in the country. And so as you're starting to go through and say, oh, I really enjoy films and I love to travel around and check out all these film festivals, that is absolutely one to check out. Then also in November, you start to have all the decorations go up for the holiday season. And in December, you have the Key West Hometown Parade. Again, it goes down to Duval. It's a great big event. It kicks off the holiday season. You have the Schooner Wharf Lighted Boat Parade. Happens every year. That is so fun to watch. And of course, New Year's Eve, you roll into that. And it is such a fabulous place and destination to experience New Year's Eve that there's a lot of the networks that carry all of the festivities live. But you can stop by Schooner Wharf and see the lowering of the Pirate Winch. You can head over to Sloppy Joe's and see the lowering of the conch shell, or you can head over to Bourbon Street and see the lowering of the Red Shoe. And then you think, wow, all of that festivities, October, November, December, busy months, January must have nothing. No, in January you have a music festival, and it's the Mile Zero Festival. A lot of musicians come in. It's a great time. There's all these different events and venues. Again, with all of these events, be sure to check their websites on what their events are and the days and times. February, you have the presidential weekend over at the Little White House there in Sherman Annex. You also have the Pup Crawl, which I think is so cute. And then the Schooner Wharf Wreckers Cup occurs. This actually is a multi-month event. And so it's this really cool Wreckers event They go out and they pretend to be wreckers, and they have these obstacles that they need to navigate through and pick things up and rescue. It's usually the last Sunday in January, February, March, and April. So if you're there and you get a chance to check that out, be sure to check that out. March is the Orchid Festival. I have to tell you, the orchids in Key West are amazing. People take care of their orchids. There's all these different kinds that you can see, but the Orchid Festival takes place over at the West Martello Fort in March. You also have up in Marathon a seafood festival that occurs. And in Key West, you have the Taste of Key West. And that's a really fun thing. And of course, it is Tennessee Williams' birthday month, and there are lots of events that occur around the Tennessee Williams exhibit and throughout the town. There's readings, there's movies being shown, all of that. Of course, usually the air show occurs, and there's usually that flyover Duval that everybody always talks about. April is a big month. It's the Conch Republic Independence Days. And there's a parade. There is the battle out in the harbor. And so they're throwing toilet paper and stale Cuban bread. And it is so much fun. If you can be in town for a Conch Republic Independence Days in April, be sure to do that. And Mary Elizabeth is saying hi. Good morning. How are you? In May, you have the Songwriters Festival. It's usually the last part of April, first part of May. You have concerts. They block off Duval Street. You bring in lots of talent that you will be able to later on say, I saw them in Key West when they got their start. June's a little bit of a slower month. You do have pride events that occur throughout Key West in June, but it's a little bit of a slower month. July, of course, you have the Key Lime Festival, and that's the first part of July. You have the Mermaid Festival. You have 4th of July events, and that's up and down the Keys. Everybody has a 4th of July parade and fireworks, and no matter where you're at, be sure to check out their town and those events. In the Lower Keys, you also have the Underwater Music Festival, which is a lot of fun. And towards the end of July, it's Hemingway's birthday month. So, of course, there is the celebration of Hemingway Days. You have the running of the bulls, you have the Papa Look-alike contest, and lots of other fun events around that. In August, we have the Rum Festival. And, of course, over the Labor Day weekend, you have Just a Few Friends that honors and commemorates Jimmy Buffett. Throughout the year, you have fishing tournaments up and down the Keys. You have marathons that you can do. So, of course, you have the running of the 7 Mile Bridge. You have various other marathons, swim around Key West, 10Ks, 5Ks, triathlons, all up and down the Keys. Be sure to, if you are in town and trying to find other types of entertainment, be it theater or music, be sure to check out the schedule at the Key West Theater, the Red Barn, the French Theater, Waterfront Theater, and of course the Amphitheater over in Truman Annex, because there's always something that's happening. And of course, we try to keep you updated on what is happening in Key West and the rest of the Keys. So be sure to head over to, I'm going to do this, send you over to FunInKeyWest.com. Check out under What to Do, Calendar of Events. You can see what's happened last year, and then as soon as we get information, we update current year. So you'll get an idea of what's occurring in the Keys and Key West over there on the calendar of events. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter by getting a copy of our happy hour guide, and that is absolutely for you. And that keeps you in the know of what's happening in Key West as well as what's happening with Fun in Key West. And of course, sign up for our book club. We have a lot of fun over there. We always read books that have some sort of connection to Key West. So we're having a lot of fun reading this month's book, and the author will be live with us. So if you want all that information, head over to the book club and learn more about that. I am Michelle with Fun in Key West. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope I've inspired you to either plan a trip to come to Key West and see one of these festivals and experience one of them for yourself, or you are going, oh, that's going to be a busy time. I think I'm going to go down into Key West in the Florida Keys and explore it when it's not so busy. But at least you'll know and you'll have the calendar. You guys have a great day. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you later.